I never thought a day would come when I would sit down to write about my family and ask for the opinions on others of what to do. But it seems that day has finally arrived. I've always loved my family, but also I've always been mistreated. It's funny that as I type this, I realize that this mistreatment has gone on for years, and I've never really paid attention to it. I simply let everything slide, and I never for once thought about the impact of this on me. It's usually a beautiful thing to have a sibling come before you. You know, a brother or sister who you get to act baby with and who treats you like a kid. It's a beautiful thing, I mean, come on. But I've never had that with my brother Mark, and frankly, I don't think I ever will. Mark is 6 years older than me, which means I was born 6 years after him, and for, I don't know, all 18 years of my life, I've never ceased to be reminded that I have an older brother, and I must accord him all respect because of his age. Who reminds me of this? Well, Mark does. My dad, Joe, does. My mom, Marilyn, does. And frankly, anybody who's affiliated with my family manages to know our age difference. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've never been one for disrespect. I've never been one for being rude to others and just not considering others. But all my life, I've always had to live in the shadows of my brother Mark. Mark got all the special treatment and all the preferences from my parents growing up. I had a childhood that saw my brother more than it saw me. My brother got gifts first, and he got them more times than I did. Whenever I would complain or attempt to share my dissatisfaction, I would be silenced by my mom, who would always remind me that Mark was older and would be the one only to carry the family name after they were gone. And so it became that I had to endure all of that as a child growing up. My mom reminded me why he was treated that way, and my dad also agreed with her, making no attempt to correct her or even defend me. So I settled into that, and that became my life. Getting into high school, I made some friends who felt more like family to me. I found myself spending more time in school than I would at home, who wanted to constantly be in the shadow of Mark anyways. I took on an after-school job just to keep myself busy and away from home, and I saved the monies that I made from it. I soon found out that I could make a lot more, and I started doing so by extending my after-school hours. My parents cared less about it since all their attention was on their favorite golden child, and once I was grateful they were using to ignore me, I tried my best to look past how I was being treated and just build my confidence myself. Well, I'd been fine and deliberately ignored everything until recently. I got out of high school with good grades, and just last week, I got an email from my Ivy League school of my choice that I've been offered admission into the school for nursing. I was overjoyed because I worked hard for it, spending extra hours awake at night studying, even though I did not get the emotional and psychological support that every child should get from their family. I remember having a conversation with my mom, telling her my dreams of becoming a nurse and pursuing admission to my school of choice. Guys, can you believe what my mother said to me? She told me to explore other options because she did not think that I would do well as a nurse. She told me nurses needed to be calm and beautiful, and I was neither. I should pray that Mark gets accepted into the best school so that I can use his influence to get accepted, because I could never, ever do it on my own. This was unarguably the worst conversation I've ever had with my mom. I expected my father to support me and encourage me, but he simply went with my mother's opinion, like he had always done. That conversation hurt me so deeply that I almost gave up on my dreams and decided to settle for something less. I decided that once I was already hardworking, I would find a side job and make that my source of living. And when I earned enough, I would be able to move out of my parents' house and live the independent life that I've always wanted to live. But I attended my school's career seminar, and my passion was kindled yet again. No one, not even my own mother, would stop me from reaching for my dreams. I decided to put everything that happened behind me. I looked past that and gave my best to school, even while working, so you can imagine how overjoyed I was to get the mail that I've finally been offered admission to my school of choice. So I decided that I've finally been offered admission, right? So it was going to coincide with my 18th birthday. I would throw a birthday party bash for myself, invite my friends over to our house, and also just have a great time. I told my parents about this, and to my utter shock, they said no to my request to have a party. This was the moment it really occurred to me that I was being mistreated all my life. Mark had brought his friends over and thrown more parties than I could count, and my parents never saw anything wrong with that. It had already sent party invites to my 5 best friends from school, and I was already making arrangements for food and drinks. I'd simply thought it would not be difficult to get my mom and dad's consent. I had everything planned out to the T, and I thought they would be happy for me. I never asked them for money for the party because I knew that since I was the one who decided to have the party, they would expect me to spend my own money for it. All I ever needed was for them to show me their support and allow me to use the house in peace. Mark was used to holding parties and bringing his friends over for little or no reason. And for the first time in my life, I've decided to throw a party to celebrate my birthday and my admission into school. But my parents declined it. Guys, I am in a pickle. This was the one time that I thought to do something to make myself happy, and my parents went ahead to refuse me? I'm really fed up with how I've been treated, and I no longer think that I want to continue this way. What do you guys think that I should do? Should I go ahead and have my party despite my parents' disagreements? Or do I simply listen to them and do, well, their wish, since I would be out of the house and in college anyways? What should I do? What's up, everybody? Oh man, this is a pickle of a situation. I can't figure out why the sun is such a golden boy. I don't know, but the first update comes out 1 week later, and if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead, hit that button. Let's see what's going on 1 week later. Hey guys, I'm here with an update on how things are playing out. It's been a week since I put my story up asking you guys what you think and what I should do because I was in such a pickle. So I decided to take the advice that came from some of you and go ahead with my party. I've never been one to be disobedient or rebellious, not at all really. I think I really deserve this. This would help me regain all the self-confidence that I seem to have lost, and it would make me happy. After all, I was turning 18 and therefore an official adult. So I decided to host a party on the day that I knew my parents were going out for an event, and it appeared they may have sleep over, and Mark was not home. My 5 best friends came over. There was food and music, and we were having such a blast. It was my right to celebrate my birthday and my acceptance into my school of choice, and I was not going to let my parents take that away from me because of fear. We were all having a blast, partying late into the evening until Marky Mark shows up at the house and walked right to tell me to stop the party. I ignored him and pretended not to hear what he was saying over the loud music and smiled at my friend Kayla, who was looking our way. Mark pulled my hand and mouthed, "I'm talking to you." Still ignoring him, I walked towards Kayla, who already had a concerned look on her face. Others were at the other side of the table playing some board game. I walked towards them in an attempt to make it crystal clear to Mark that I was not going to do what he wanted. He had no right to tell me what to do, and as I walked, Mark pulled my dress and dragged me from behind, almost causing me to trip. I was livid with anger, and Kayla ran to us, and everyone else noticed and ran too. Mark attempted to walk to the music player and turn it off, but I stood in his way, unmoving. My friends shouted for him to leave me alone, and brought out their phones to video him in case he did anything funny, you know, like hit me. And just then the phone rang, and he somewhat jerked into reality. He took the call, left us, and went upstairs. I calmed my friends down and told them to excuse me for a moment. Mark came downstairs and announced that he did not want to see us when he got back and then stormed out. I ignored him and told my friends to ignore him too. Guys, I cannot tell you how upset I was. This is exactly where my parents have led me to. They've made my brother into an entitled man who feels that he can tell me what to do whenever he wants. I can't believe that he would barge in and attempt to disrupt my party. I'm so upset, and clearly my family's turning into something else. Not just my mom and my dad, but also Mark. Everyone treats me like such a child, and this family is the worst. You guys would not believe what happened next. A few minutes after he left, my parents came in, and yes, you heard that. I thought that they would spend the night wherever they went, but I thought wrong. A part of me wanted to believe that Mark told on me. Well, I ignored it. I was not going to let him turn me into a petty person, so I mustered the courage and greeted my parents when they came inside. My friends who have been dancing stopped to say their hellos, and my mom turned off the music in anger, and both she and my dad headed to their room without saying a word to me. My friends looked at me and asked if they should leave. I never felt so embarrassed and so little in my entire life. I could not believe my eyes because I've always been a good child and did not deserve to be treated the way that they just treated me. The first and only party I've ever thrown for myself, and it was an issue. My parents treated me like a silly kid who did not know her right from her left, yet I was already an adult. I stood there quietly fuming and thought of what to do. Just as I made the decision to go to their rooms to question them, I heard my mom scream my name, and before I could answer, she was downstairs glaring at us in anger. "Someone stole my expensive jewelry and money. Bring it out now." I was embarrassed. I told her I did not take money and none of my friends did. I was very upset, and in all my years as their daughter, I've never taken anything that did not belong to me. I looked from her to my father, who was standing at a corner, and said nothing. "Dad?" I called to him, praying desperately that he would defend me and that he would just find one good thing to say about me. But he just stood there and stared. "Leave and don't come back to this house without my money and jewelry." I was tearing up at this point, and, that night I left with my 5 friends who smiled and told me that things would be all right. I've never been so embarrassed in my life. See, Kayla offered me her place to stay. She was older and already had a place of her own. As I type this, I find it so hard to believe that I was born to my parents. They threw me out, and I did not care if I had nowhere else to go, and for that, I did not think that I would ever be able to forgive them. My heart was broken into pieces, and it hurt so bad. I know I want to be a good child, but I think this is the point where I can no longer endure. I left with my friends, and I did not see the possibility of ever going back. Update 2, 1 month later. Thank you guys for being so supportive of me. It's been a month since I last wrote to you, and your comments have helped me get myself together. Yes, I had a traumatic upbringing, but I was not going to let that define me and ruin my life forever. So, you're all aware that I left the house with my friends. I moved in with Kayla and decided that I was going to face my life and my goals and not bother about my parents since they chose not to believe that I did not take the money and jewelry. My parents thought that they were smart and were making the right decision. What they did not know was that Mark had been the one doing all the stealing, and I was well aware of it. I'm grateful that I got to do some jobs and saved up enough for myself and my tuition. Well, it appeared like I did not have any more. It still hurts that my parents decided to treat Mark better than they treated me as we grew up, all because he's a boy child. Mark has always been the one stealing things. Most times, my mother would just think that she forgot to put a $10 note in her purse and assume that she left it somewhere in reality when she went out, but no, it was always Mark. I caught him sneaking off with her purse, and on one occasion, Mark stole a wad of cash that a family friend had given to Mom and decided to throw a party with the money. I came home from school that day and saw that he had his friends over and they were eating and drinking. Mom and Dad had gone for a short trip and left the 2 of us at home. I got in and pulled him aside. "Mark, where did you get the money from for this?" He ignored me and threatened to beat me up if I ever told Mom or Dad the things that I saw. Afterward, Mom looked for the money, and when she did not find it, laid the blame on me. And so I kept quiet. Mark was bigger than me, and I did not want to be hit by him. Every time something got lost, my parents would either assume that it got lost or my mom would simply blame me for it. In their eyes, Mark could never do any wrong. He was always on the road and spending a lot of money, and now I've left the house and I'm all alone. It's been 1 month at Kayla's place, and my parents have not thought to call or look for me. They've been so unconcerned with my whereabouts and safety that all they care about has been money and jewelry. I've been hurting, and you guys would not believe what I found out. I have the evidence of Mark stealing the money and the jewelry. I did not realize I had the videos and pictures of Mark until this morning, when I was going through my phone. I've been slightly drunk at the party, and I completely forgot that I caught pictures and videos of Mark on my phone. Now that I found concrete evidence to go ahead and let Mark on the loose, what do you guys think that I should do? If I don't send it to them, they will be hit by the surprise that awaits them. Mark has always been their favorite child, and what they did not know was that he also is their doom, their most destructive child. On second thought, if I send the evidence to them, I can once and for all rub it in their faces that they made a giant mistake by not believing in me. What do you think that I should do? Update number 3. 3 days later. Hey guys! So, it's been 3 days since I saw the evidence and was thinking about what to do with them. So I took the advice of somebody and decided to send the evidence. I know that some people may judge me and repel me for trying to cause a rift between my parents and their golden child, but one thing you have to know is that my story has not been an easy one. I have had the most difficult childhood ever. My parents did not call me to find out, well, where I was or what I was doing. All that mattered to them was for me to bring back the money and jewelry. This is heartbreaking for me because even though I'd always been treated less and Mark was given more care than I was, I'd always tried to love my parents and family and be a good child to them, so for them to treat me this way was a terrible thing to do. When I sat down and thought about all this, I decided that I at least had to make them see that I had not been the one stealing from them. They had to know that my integrity was right. The anger of everything made me send a video that I recorded to my mom. I did it. When Mark came into the house during the party, I observed that he was a bit uneasy. I knew that something was wrong. He was agitated, and I suspected that he's been drinking because he reeked of alcohol. After he made a scene and picked up the call and rushed upstairs, I told my friends to excuse me for a moment and followed him without his knowledge. I saw him enter our parents' room. He left the door open and I watched him open up their wardrobe. He dropped his phone on the table and went into the restroom. I immediately entered and took a look at his phone and saw that messages had came in. He had sold our parents' house and the 2 cars to pay for something that I could not tell. Guys, I quickly took pictures of the conversation on his phone and left the room. As he came down to yell at us and tell us to end the party, well, before he got back, I observed he was carrying a box wrapped in a bag. I told him I agreed and proceeded to make a video of my friends. We were getting tipsy at that point, and I didn't care of whatever Mark had to say. Well, in the process of making the video of my friends, I caught Mark leaving the house with a box. That became another piece of evidence that was not intentionally obtained. I got all the pictures and videos and sent them both to my mom and dad. I can't wait for them to see everything. I can't. And they're going to regret their actions, surely. They'll know what all these lies are about, and they should have believed me. Update number 4. Hey guys, this is going to be my final update, so I want to give you this update. It's going to state the things and how they are. It's been a week. Just as I expected, my mom called me the next day after I sent those pictures and videos to her. They had been calling and gotten news that they had to let go of the house and the cars because Mark sold it. That was the most shocking revelation that they had. She began to apologize and told me that she got the videos I sent her. She started to cry and asked that I help them. They would have nowhere to go if they did not get back the house and the car. Please help us, baby. Guys, I was so beyond surprised that my mom could ever refer to me as baby. It's always been Mia. I'm surprised that she would ask me for help, and I know that you were diligent, and some jobs have been done to you, and some money also. Please, help us, she said. I laughed long and hard on the phone and said, help you? I couldn't believe my ears. Mia, please help. I heard my dad's voice in the background, and I burst into laughter. I didn't know that in one day I could be that much desired. I was always the forgotten child. The child was never as good as her brother because she was only a bit of a mere girl. It was amazing to see that my parents could, quote, see please and my name in the same sentence. Well, I told them that I could not help them. I told them to meet their favorite son and get them to help if they needed it. They had always treated me differently. They accused me of stealing money and jewelry, not knowing that it's been their favorite boy all along. Now the trouble came, they ran to me for help, and who's going to do it? Not me. I told them no, because the money I saved up is for my tuition, and there's no way I would ever pick a dime of my hard-earned money to spend on them. My mother was sobbing at this point, and as I finished explaining, my father got on the call and said, please, we're so sorry, Mia, please. I was quiet, and in the instant I had flashbacks of how I've been treated growing up. What if Mark never got the point of selling the house and the cars and being discovered? Would my parents have still believed that I was always a thief? They were only sorry because they found out, not because they ever believed me. I told my father that I could not help them with any money, at all. I couldn't help them for nothing. Not a lawyer to recover the house because the money was meant for my tuition and I could not use it for them. I wished them well, and I cut the call.